Ready.
I think we're live. Maybe. I'm going to give it a second and make sure that this refreshes and that you guys can hear me before we get started too much or go too far. There was grammar for you. Okay. Come on. Get going. Waiting for that video to catch up. And let's see if there's audio. I think we're live. Maybe. I'm going to give it a second and make sure that this refreshes and that you guys can hear me before we get started. Okay, I think we're all here. Let me know if you guys, if the sound is okay, if I need to turn one of us up or anything fun like that. We today have Sheldene from Sheldene Fine Art with us. I'm so excited. Sheldene, do you want to tell everybody what you do?
Sure. Hey guys, so nice to see you guys on here. I see in the chat already there's a couple of people that follow both of us. So it's really nice to see you guys on here. It's really great. And I just said that like 5 times. I am also a colored pencil artist, mainly colored pencils. I don't have all that much experience in acrylics or anything like that. So my main thing is colored pencil art. And what I do is I just sort of draw and teach at the same time. So I have a Patreon account where I just put up videos. And then I also have a what I call a student portal where people can log into my website, have their own little area. And then I've got more than 300 hours worth of content on there in colored pencil art. And we mainly do like live streams as well. So we hang out a lot where those in the sort of what I like to call my little pencil community, we all get to chat to each other and help each other out with pencils. And then we are all on all different levels. So it's really great to see how we all progress and work towards getting a sort of realistic result in colored pencils. Yeah.
Now, we originally were planning on both demonstrating while we chatted today. Chatted? Is that a word? Chatted? Or am I making things up? But we were planning on doing that today, and I didn't realize I was missing equipment I would have needed to make that happen. So Sheldene has been giving me a crash course in things I need to buy, and we'll be doing that in the future. So I'm excited for that. I'm also excited because some of the stuff she's been teaching me is going to improve my regular live streams so much. So yeah, video capture card. Why didn't nobody tell me about these things? So yay, Sheldene's already been teaching me. So we decided instead, so that we could still hang out tonight, that we would just chat about art and answer any questions that you guys have. So in the chat room, make sure that you highlight our names, either as you can see the @Lachri Fine Art or @Sheldene Fine Art. Make sure our names are highlighted so that we're sure. Okay, I'm quieter. Let me turn that up. Let me know if that fixed the volume. But where was I going with it? Oh, make sure our names are highlighted so that we're sure to see the questions, because if it's not highlighted, we just assume you are chatting amongst yourselves. And yeah, let me know again if the volume seemed to fix what I did. I can turn it up again in a second. A little louder still? Okay, 1 second.
I think while we wait for those questions, a good question that we can maybe answer is a little bit about what we spoke about yesterday. About how to improve our channels. So we had a look at a couple of other YouTube channels that are very successful, and then it's sort of great you can almost immediately point out exactly why those channels are getting people coming to those channels. So for those of you that are fairly new in developing your YouTube channel, this is a great thing, because this is something I'm learning as well, because I found that I've gotten quite stagnant in the growth rate that I've been experiencing lately compared to before. So sometimes it's good to have those moments where you actually look back and try and figure out, okay, so why is this happening to me? What can I do to better my channel? So something that Lisa and I discussed a little bit yesterday was also collaborations. Collaborations is a key thing, because you learn so much from other artists that you haven't sort of picked up on before, and that. So communicating about art and talking about it, I think, really gets you into a space where you start thinking about it broader, or you might be thinking about it, but you never actually say it out loud. And then you're like, oh, yeah. So collaborating was one of them. And then Lisa, did you maybe want to talk about something else that we spoke about with the channel, maybe the thumbnails or something?
Yeah, one of the things, and I don't even think this necessarily needs to go so much towards building a channel, just art in general. what we were doing, we found a channel that grew really, really fast who was doing great content. And it's like, okay, what is this person doing different than what we're doing? It's very clear. It's so easy when we look at stuff. And the same thing with art. We'll look at an artist who got better faster than we did, whose skills improved, and they started doing better, whether they got a bigger following or their artwork itself just got better. And it's so easy to look at it and go, oh, it's something else. We like attribute the reason that we didn't grow or we didn't improve to something else. We usually like to pick something that's outside of our control. I work too many hours. There's always some excuse that is easier to blame that instead of the things that are within our control. Because I think if we blame what is in our control, we actually have to make a change. And that sucks. Who wants to take responsibility for themselves? So looking at that and looking and just being realistic. I think it's so important just to be honest, whether it be your art or in this case, like we were looking at channels, just to be honest and realistic about what are they doing that's better and what can I do to not necessarily copy them, but to improve in the same way. Like there's a reason for that. And I think figuring out that reason, so many times artists will look at one artist and go, they're so much better than me. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be that good. I wasn't born talented. That's one of my favorite excuses. I wasn't born. That's not how art works. You're not born with talent. But, you hear these excuses and it's so... It's just really helpful if you can look at that more objectively. Why is that artist getting better? Why are they improving faster than you? Or like in the case with us, why was that channel growing faster? There's a reason. You just have to figure out what that is. It's not usually some, God-given talent that I'm hindered because I wasn't born with this or anything like that. Yeah. So that was just really helpful.
Yeah, in my workshops, quite often I get that. They're like, oh, you're so talented. And I'm like, no, it's like any other trade. For you to get good at it, you have to practice. And the interest must be there. It's not something that I could just do from day one.
Yeah. So, okay, I turned my volume up, by the way, guys, a lot just now. Let me know if that changes. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that was it. I was just saying it's like any other trade. If the interest is there, then you'll put the time into it. And practice is what makes you develop that skill. It's not something... Yes, there are some artists that are just born with the magic of freaking doing something insane straight up without any practice, but that's not realistic for most of us, so you shouldn't expect that result for yourself.
Yeah, and most of the artists I think that you look at and think they're just born good. They weren't. You look back at where they started and they weren't even that good. Like they weren't even like above average for their own age group, as a teen, as an early adult. And it's like just putting in the work and learning what a difference that makes. So we have a few questions. Let me go back up. I think most of them are me being too low. Okay. And just so you know, Sheldene actually wanted to double check our audio. And I was like, no, it's fine. We'll just ask you guys. So this is my fault. Let's see. We've got a question from Clarice who is asking both of us what our favorite piece. Sheldene, what is your favorite piece Lisa has done? And asking me what my favorite piece you have done is. Oh, that's a hard one.
That is a hard one.
Cheat and go look at your website really quick. I don't know. I mean, all I remember is every time I see something of yours, I'm like, yay, I love it. Like, I don't remember anyone. I don't stalk you as much as maybe I should, apparently. I feel bad.
Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't looked at any art channels in ages. I see things pop up on Instagram, which is really great. Oh, I really like that hashtag art versus artist thing.
Me too.
I've been loving those because that gives you such a clear, quick look at what the artists do. And then everyone that you posted on yours, Lisa, I love them. I loved all of them. And I don't know if it's the way you coordinated it in the collage or what it was. I was like, yeah, that's really great. As a particular favorite of mine from Lisa, I don't know.
I can't either. Say. I could look really quick. I think there's
aspects. There's aspects of many that I like, but yeah.
Yeah, and you can check out Sheldene's, her Instagram, her Twitter, all of these. You can go follow her on all of those if you aren't already, which you should be. Let's see. It didn't change. Okay, hold on. Let me turn that back.
I'm going to go to your website real quick as well. And then I'll give you guys back
and
that stands out to me real quick.
Let me know if that helped. I can also this may actually turn Sheldene up too. Guys, let me know if that made any difference on the audio. Sooner or later, I'll get it closer. And yeah, I can move it closer, but you may end up hearing me like that annoying sound when someone sounds like they're swallowing the mic. I always hate that. Okay. Let's see. Whoops. I just scrolled past some questions. Aloria Fine Art said, I keep seeing that storytelling is a huge factor in growing channels. Any ideas on incorporating storytelling in an art channel? So for me, what I've been doing is just tell my own story. I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more of what my daily life is like, not just the artwork. And I'm not sure that that's the right kind of storytelling, but like the video that I just did with the Derwent Inktense, that one, or the Inktense travel pan, I just wanted to show what my life is like, when I go walking and when I go do something other than sitting at the easel. So it's what I've been trying to do, just showing a little bit more of and as much as I think my daily life is boring, it still, I think, gives people an insight into who you are and what you do. So that's what I've been doing, or starting to do.
I know that if I'm following someone in particular, then I get intrigued about what their life is like as well. So I'm curious to see, even if it's something simple, like what their kitchen looks like. Something like that, it could be tiny things, or their pets, like, because we are animal lovers as well. So I'm always interested in knowing about, what animals people have that I follow too. So I do think it's good to incorporate some part of your life into it, because, I'm naturally curious about it from others. So I just sort of assume that other people might be a little bit more curious about it if they're following my work too. Not in a vain way, I don't think, just in a curious way.
Yeah.
And people would also want to know, like, if because we do art full time, so those that are trying to go full time, they want to know how we manage to do that. Or if we're doing a part time, they'd also want to know how we manage to do that. So how do we work, and how you have to incorporate that by either telling them about it, or by adding some photos of your day in, whether it be Snapchat or something like that. Yeah.
We've got a colored pencil question from Julian, who is asking both of us, which white colored pencil is better for you? Derwent Drawing Chinese White or Caran d'Ache Luminance White? Do you want to go first, or do you want to think about that?
No, I know the answer to mine, and okay. Mine is not an answer that anyone's going to want to hear, I don't think, because I'm a budget artist, I think. So I use my Prismacolors all the time. I love my Prismacolors. I do have Caran d'Ache pencils, and I do have the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. I haven't tried the Chinese White, actually, but I sort of just stick to the same. So I just stick to the Prismacolors, and that's the white that I use. And something that I might just bring up real quick, and I know this is off topic of the question, is light fastness. So a lot of people ask me, like, why aren't you as conscious about light fastness? Because some artists are very conscious about it, some artists aren't. And in my opinion, for me anyways, I don't care so much about the light fastness, because for me, I'm happy if I can get a decent scan out of it, and then my prints are going to be good. When it comes to the original, because I don't really sell my originals, or I don't care to sell my originals, this would be very different if you care to sell your originals. I don't care so much about selling my originals. I quite often give them away, or I care more about having a decent print. So the light fastness for me doesn't matter. So I like the fact that I still get to use cheap pencils and get a beautiful result. And as long as I can get a decent print out of it, I don't care so much about the light fastness, if that makes sense.
That's how I feel about Inktense and watercolor pencils at this point, because they photograph so well. I'm like, I'm actually totally happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, between Derwent Drawing Chinese White and the Luminance, it depends on what I'm doing. If I want a softer pencil, something that's going to blend a larger area, then I'm going to go with my Derwent Drawing. If I'm trying to do finer, smaller detail, almost always I'll go with the Luminance, because it's a harder lead, so it's going to hold that finer point better than the Derwent Drawing Chinese White will. The Derwent Drawing Chinese White, I feel, is a bit more opaque, so if I can use it, I like that, but it's, it's because it's so soft, it's not like that buttery kind of feel when you're working with them. Yeah. It's going to break more easily. So
yeah,
That's
Well,
just
one
the
thing
nature.
I've really liked with fine details with white is I do love the brush and pencil titanium white and a fine, very
Yes.
fine brush. I
Yes.
love using that if I can't get my pencil to be as fine as I'd like it to be.
Yeah, I'm definitely that's my go-to if I really want something like the
Yeah.
fine line. Oh, that stuff is a lifesaver. Let's see.
Apparently, I'm a bit on the loud side. You know what? I will change that. I'll move my mic away from me a little bit so it's not that close. Oops. And then maybe that will not be as... Because I understand I have that pitch in my voice, so sometimes it can be like, whoa.
That yeah,
Okay.
I get that. My voice is we'll go with obnoxious on my end.
No.
It's cut. Mine, I get the cutting sound. My birds love it though because they like the high pitch, so my birds get super excited about my voice. So everyone else may hate it, but the birds like it and they matter more. So it works. Let's see. Multimedia artist said, recently I got Mona Lisa paint thinner and I'm having trouble using it for blending colored pencils. Any tips? Chances are, well, one, it could have to do with the type of pencils you're using. So without having a bit more information, I can't give you for certain, but just in general, I will say the type of pencils you're using can make a difference. So the Derwent, like Derwent Color Soft, they don't blend, well, I don't blend well with anything to be honest, but they don't blend for me the look that I'm going for, whether it be OMS, colorless blender themselves, or, no technique I've used really blends those well. So in that case, it wouldn't be from the OMS. If it's Prismacolor, Caran d'Ache, Luminance, Polychromos, Caran d'Ache, Luminance, I always say those separately like they're two different things. What else? The Derwent Pro Color, any of those, if that you're still having problems with those and it's not blending well, more likely than not, you're either one, using paper that's too porous. So like a cold press paper, not going to blend you're not going to get a really smooth look then. The other would be that you're not getting enough pigment from the pencil on the paper. So like you're doing a light layer and then you're trying to blend that out and expect it to be nice and bold, and it just won't happen because you don't have the pigment there for the OMS to do anything with. So you want to get more pigment on the paper and use a light hand. More pigment doesn't mean push harder. It means add a layer lightly, add another layer lightly, add another layer lightly. I usually do that like 3 to 5 times, and then I will blend with odorless mineral spirits. And that will take multiple layers. The first time blending out with OMS doesn't look perfectly smooth. It takes several times before I build up to where I get that nice, solid, really well saturated area.
I totally agree. It's exactly the same. I also try and do a lot of light layers. At least try and get 3 or 4 colors down before you blend with a layer of solvent. And also, it does make a difference the amount of solvent that you put down. If you are using solvent with sanded paper, then you need the tiniest amount. Your brush has to practically be dry if you want to use a solvent on a sanded paper. And then on a watercolor paper, you don't have to be too exact about the amount of solvent that you have on your brush, because a watercolor paper can just absorb it if there is a bit of excess. But if you're using too much solvent on a sanded paper, it's just going to move it around like mud. So you have to use the tiniest amount. So it's weird. Like, I'm sure you always get questions about solvent, Lisa, because I do all the time.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, you got to factor in the paper that you're using and the amount of solvent that you're putting down, and of course the layering that you're putting down as well. And also how heavy are you with your layers, and are you putting enough layers down? So there's a couple of questions that sort of go hand in hand with that question about solvent.
I'm adjusting audio levels again. If you wonder why I'm ignoring everything, I think the audio capture, that's what you are on, right? Audio output capture?
Yeah.
It was up super high. We'll see if that helps.
Okay.
Because I'm getting to the point, I'm like, I can't turn me up anymore. I double checked. It is coming from me out of the right mic, but we'll see. Let me, guys, those of you who are watching, let me know if that fixed it.
And also, like, I use the zested pencil blend, so I know that a lot of people in the US can't easily get their hands on the zested. Those in the UK can, because it's actually from the UK. And then in Australia, you can get zested pretty easy. And I love the zested mineral spirits because it's biodegradable, it's got a nice smell, it's made from citrus, and it's non-flammable, which is great. So it's nice not having such a strong chemical when you're using the stuff. But also, I'm pretty sure I probably would have used the Mona Lisa odorless solvent if I could get my hands on it, because a bottle lasts you forever. But the Zested is another option for those that can get their hands on it if you're a little bit more conscious about what it's made of. But yeah, I don't know if it would be much different, because I've tried normal like Art Spectrum odorless solvent and the Zested and the Gamsol, and well, no, I lie, I didn't try the Gamsol. I have a bottle, but I just have never tried it. And I don't see much difference in using them, so I don't think it's that important what kind of odorless spirits you use. Just don't compensate with baby oil. Please do not use baby oil.
I've got you. There you go. Now you're not frozen.
Okay. Oh gosh, look at how I look frozen.
Sorry, but I was sitting here trying. I'm like, why did that happen? I didn't change it. It just went back unfrozen on its own. So okay. I think your audio is still coming through though, so we should be good. But yeah, the baby oil thing. Oh my gosh, that's something that crafters use. If you're making crafts, fine, you can use whatever you want. You're not really worried about archival quality then and your work lasting or things getting nasty. It doesn't.
It's oil. Oil stains your paper.
Don't do that.
Stains.
Okay, let's see. I've got to scroll back up. I had to scroll down to see if you were frozen for everyone else too. So I lost my spot. Okay.
I don't even know where
for Fun asked, I may have skipped a few, but we're back at a question, so we'll just go with this one. I have only 12 Polychromos. I also have a 72 set of Prismacolors, but after seeing your and other artist videos, I know that they are bad. What can I do with my 12 Polychromos? First, I just want to address this because I'm the one who always is like, I hate Prismacolor. They're not bad. I'm not going to say they're bad. I don't like them. They break way too much. I do not have the patience to work with that. But if that's what you have, use them. They're not, that's what I used them for, like 15, 20, I don't know, a long time, many, many years. That was how I learned to work in colored pencil, and I do not regret what I learned in using them. So as far as just Prismacolors being bad, they're not bad. There are things that I don't like about them as much. I use them all the time.
That's what I use every day. So I like the Prismacolors. And in terms of breakage and that, like, yes, you do get the odd few that break, but I haven't found it to be so bad that they're unbearable to use. Sharpening is a big factor.
They were nonstop.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad. I was spending more time dealing with broken pencils than I was working. I mean, it was like, I am going to snap. And because I've been working with them for so long, I had the older ones. The older ones didn't do that. So it was the wood casings that I was fighting with. And I tried every sharpener technique. The electric sharpener, that did help. It really didn't. I didn't get nearly as much breakage when I did that. What do you use for sharpening yours?
I use the School Smart sharpener. I love that.
Who's that by?
Well, you get it in the US. It looks like this. School Smart.
It's got a nice bin for shavings.
Yeah, I really need to empty that. I always really go overboard with that. But that one's really good because you're not putting much pressure on holding the pencil as it goes through the sharpener. So when you manually sharp, you're putting a lot of force into the barrel of the pencil. Compared to this one, you're not putting any force at all. You can barely hold the pencil, and it sharpens and it stops once it's sharpened. And I feel that makes a big difference, especially with the Prismacolor pencils, because you don't have that extra force that is sort of, putting extra pressure on the casing, because you do get the odd pencil. I've only found one pencil where the cord just dropped straight through. And I was like, what the hell? I've only had one like that. And then I do try not to drop my pencils, because you just have to drop your Prismacolors once or twice on a hard ground and it will shatter right through.
The wind just has to blow wrong once and they'll shatter right through.
Yeah,
you don't even have to drop them.
That is a problem with Prismacolor. but something else I have to mention, you can get like 150 Prismacolor pencils now for like $60, which is so cheap. So I'm like, I would rather just replace the pencil that breaks with a couple of new ones, and it's not going to cost me that much money because they are so cheap right now that you can still use it. But I'm so glad that you and I sort of have a different experience in these pencils. So that's what I also love about these collaborations, because you have to try it for yourself. You can't take our word for anything. You have to experiment and try things for yourself and see what you like, and then decide. Don't go be like, oh, this is my favorite artist, I must have those opinions too. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to try it for yourself and figure it out for yourself. I have a couple of students that they totally, there's some parts of my tutorials and they're like, nah, I just don't like this. It's not working for me. And I'm like, that's great. You know, that's not working for you. So try something else. So that, you know, I'm not saying don't do it. It's just, it's something that you have to experiment with for yourself.
There's no one right or wrong way to do things when it comes to art. And you will find teachers out there who, usually in colleges, I see that more, where you get this elitist attitude of my way is the only way. If you use this tool, if you use that tool, if you use this method, it's wrong. You're never going to be good. No, that's not how art works. For me, that's a big red flag of, I don't really believe a whole lot of what you say now. So you just have to figure out what works for you. Now, for as far as only having 12 polychromos, you can do amazing things with 12 colors. I'm assuming you have the 12 pack. I'm actually going to do a video, a 12 pencil only type challenge video, to show you with just, I may even do like 5 colored pencils just to make up the point. You can make something so colorful and so beautiful with just a couple of pencils, just a handful of pencils. You don't need to have every pencil out there. And I recommend students, I would rather see a student get a small set of good pencils than every color available of cheap, crappy pencils. So if 12 is what you've got, you can
Maybe we should do a collab on that one.
We should.
Maybe you and I should do an artwork with just 12 pencils.
And you do Charisma and I'll do Polychromos.
Yeah,
or something like that. Good. Yeah, we are going to definitely do that. Like really soon, we'll be doing that. Okay. I'm excited because I've wanted to do this anyway, because that's a question that comes up so often. And don't feel limited by having fewer colors. Yeah, it's easier, I think, to just be able to grab like, okay, I don't have to mix color, it's right there. But you can mix. And the other thing is, no matter what medium you're working in, colored pencil, acrylic painting, oil painting, whatever, if you're having a hard time learning to blend colors, learning to mix colors, the way that you fix that is limit the color palette. Don't use every color available to you. Get just maybe 5 colors. Learn how to blend different colors. Learn how different color combinations work just with that limited palette before you jump into 150 colors. That gets very confusing and overwhelming. Break it down into a small color palette. Wow, I can't talk. Just a few pencils, and you're just going to learn so much more about blending, so much more about color matching and mixing color than you would if you were using bigger sets.
Yep, that's right. I have a free tutorial on my YouTube channel on doing a color wheel with a limited palette as well. So the whole you've got the entire spectrum of colors just from, I don't think I used as little as 6. I think, I used 16 colors in that one, but we did the entire color wheel and there's so many colors that you can get out of it. And that one's for free on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But I think doing an actual artwork with a limited palette would be great. And actually recently, the Smart Art box that had the pencils in them, you haven't done that one yet, have you?
I did it on the live stream on Wednesday.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
At first I thought that those pencils, I'm like, wow, this is a good alternative, a low cost. And then I realized, wow, after you blend out like 2 layers, you can't add more on top of these. They don't take, like the white was the worst pencil in the world. So that was interesting. I loved it though, because I got to try out another brand. But it was only a few pencils and you can make something super colorful.
Yeah. So I did a little demonstration on drawing a kitten and the eyes just with that limited palette as well. So that might be a good one to check out too, because that one shows you because I had to limit myself to only what was in the Smart Art box. So that was really hard because while I'm drawing it, I'm like, I know which color I want to use out of one of my sets, but I can't use it. I just have to use these. And you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. It's just such good practice too. Like even if you've got 150 colors, I do recommend do some projects with a few smaller amount of pencils and you're going to learn so much from that. Jacqueline says, I'm about to start to use oil on top of acrylic for the first time. Any tips? Expect your first layer your first layer of oils is going to look worse than your last layer of acrylics. Don't be discouraged by that. That's normal. The first layer of oils always looks a bit fuzzier than the sharpness you had with acrylics, but you'll clean up and sharpen your things up on your future layers. But I don't really have any tips you're already doing it in the right order. Oil paint can go on top of acrylics. Acrylics cannot go on top of oils, but you know that. So just don't be frustrated when that first layer of oils looks fuzzier and your drawing it isn't as crisp as the last layer of acrylics was. Okay.
And I can't comment on that because I have no idea. I do not. I do not paint. I've tried painting and it's not bad, but the problem with me is I have the expectation of getting the results that I get with my pencils with painting, and that's unrealistic. So I sort of need to shift my headspace out of that if I'm going to try acrylic again.
You know what would be a fun collaboration is for both of us to go step by step, and I'll teach you how to do a painting, beginning to end.
Yes.
That would be a lot of
yes,
fun.
We should do that.
Yeah. I like these ideas.
I need to write these things down.
Let's see, a question from That Fine Art Guys wants to know from both of us, how have other artists and each other influenced you? I get ideas from other artists. Like, I'll see something someone does. Like, let's use Valerie as an example. Valerie, who is one of our moderators, if you've not already checked out her channel or The Art of Joseph Fincham, the links to their channels are in the video description, so make sure you do that. But Valerie recently did a painting of a manatee, and I saw that. It was so gorgeous, and they're so beautiful. Anyway, I got so excited because her painting, it's not that I'm going to copy her painting, but it gave me an idea for my own. I want to include a manatee. Mine's going to be a surreal piece, but it inspired me just in seeing that. Like, it gets your brain going when you see artwork from other artists. It's not that I want to copy her painting at all. I want to make something totally different. I just want to use elements from this artist. Or like you guys, I've talked about before, some of you know I love John By Fine Art. He does a lot where he has prints in the background. I actually found him after I was already doing like damask prints in the background, but the way he did it, I liked better than the way I was doing it. And it gave me ideas as far as like, okay, how can I improve? How can I change the way I'm doing this? We have different painting styles, but it's again, not that I want to copy his. I don't want my work to look just like his, but it inspired me to try some different things that like opened up some doors in my brain that thought I didn't consider doing it that way. How can I use that in my own artwork?
Yeah. I sort of remember like it was yesterday. So 4 years ago, because I was working admin, I was working in the city, I was doing I was working on the mines before that as well, doing fly in, fly out work and stuff like that. I hated it. It was just not for me. Anyways, the project ended. I ended up being without work for a long time, and I couldn't find a new job. And I started looking on YouTube, and I started finding my inspiration there. And the first artist that I saw that convinced me to buy colored pencils was Heather Rooney. Now, I'm sure most of you know who Heather Rooney is. She's insanely good with her colored pencil drawings and things like that. But the only thing that I didn't quite like about her channel is she doesn't teach you anything. She just shows you. She just has time lapses of what she does. So, and it's enough motivation for you to buy a set of pencils, but then what step do you take from there once you have your pencils? And the next person I found was Lisa, actually. So Lisa has been one of the biggest people in my drawing life on learning how to draw. And being able to, being friends with Lisa like this as well has been insane, because it's so nice being able to communicate with other artists and be able to learn things from other artists. Because the more you're able to, communicate with an artist and share things, the more you actually take in and the more you actually want to do it, because you see that you're not the only one and there's something else you can learn. And then so I found Lisa. I also found Jason Morgan. He was really good, although I didn't quite get into pastel pencils, but his method of teaching and his techniques are still very useful. So who else did I really enjoy? Yeah, I think you two are the main ones, and then bits and pieces of a whole bunch of other artists. But the two that I just consistently follow, I think, Lisa and Jason Morgan. So they are two great artists that I sort of have had in the background since the beginning of learning. But yes, I get my inspiration from watching other artists, and then I absorb bits and pieces of the information of all of them until eventually I find what I like doing. And this changes every year as well. It doesn't stay consistent.
Yeah, the Art of Joseph Fincham says, fastest voice in the South versus the highest pitch in Australia. Let's get ready to rumble. Wow. Victoria Diaz asked, how and when did we meet? It feels like I've known you forever. I don't actually remember how. I mean, I'm guessing it was through video. I don't remember.
I think the first email I sent you was for the critique.
I did that, but once I got to your critique, I already.
Ago, but you did it 2 years ago. Yeah.
But when I did the critique, we already knew each other. By the time I actually did the critique, we had already known each other. But I don't remember at all.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of collabs. We did the Valentine's one, the Easter
one. And the TMI.
Yeah, the TMI.
When,
I think the TMI was when it all really started for us. Like we've sort of been in contact before, but we didn't really start. I don't know.
I honestly don't remember at all. Like
Yeah,
I can't remember like the first time we talked or
me neither. But it's a while back. It's been a
yeah,
while.
it has been a very long time. Um, oh, weird. My mouse is showing. Sorry, I'll try to keep it off the screen. Weird. Why is that going on there? Oh, no. Valerie, just let me know. Interesting. I don't even know why my mouse is doing that. I have to keep switching back and forth to get to, let me see if I can move this box out of the way if it makes a difference. Okay. I think if I move things around, I don't know why my mouse is showing. I'm sure there's an option not to. I'm going to have to mess with some of these settings. As you guys can tell, I'm not used to doing collab live streams, and so I don't remember how half of these settings. Sheldene's been helping me since last night. We've been getting this set up because, yeah.
Yeah, and thank goodness we did it yesterday because we were there. We were talking for like 3 hours. Although we were talking and trying to do that at the
Yeah.
same time, so it could have probably been about an hour and a half of work.
And it turned out we started over at the other, like I was at a different location with the laptop set up and I switched computers altogether. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oops, just scrolled too far. So Max is encouraging us for the set of 12. Oh, set of 12 Derwent drawing pencils. See, that would be harder with the Derwent drawing pencils because the Derwent drawing pencils don't have bright reds or bright yellows, like some of the bright colors that I would need to mix. Like I could do something with just blue, yellow, and red, but Derwent drawing are all so muted that I'm basically going to come out with a slightly tinted, like antique-y looking type thing. I can't get the brightness, so I don't think that I'll do that because the set of 12, or Derwent drawing only has 24. That's as many as you can get with them. So I don't think they'd be an ideal one for that challenge because they are all fairly muted and I love them, but I love them in combination with other colors on their own. I don't think they would work real well for that.
Do we maybe want to pick a brand each? So I'll do Prismacolor, you do whatever.
Yeah.
And then we do the primary and the tertiary colors only and see how far we get with that.
Yeah, let's do that. I was thinking too of looking up what the sets, like whether it be Faber-Castell or maybe the Pro Color, Derwent Pro Color. I'm not sure which one I wanted to work in yet. We'll talk about this. But
yep.
I want to look up what set of 12 that the set comes with. That way when people go and buy just a set of 12, they know that that's what could be done with the colors in that pack.
Okay.
So,
but also if it's really cheap open stock, then I guess it would also be okay to buy 12 pencils on their own.
Yeah. Well, we'll work out the details.
Yeah, we will.
Let's see. Jackie wants to know how we seal our colored pencil artwork when we're finished. For me, I don't. When you use Prismacolor, they will get a wax bloom, and so that required the Prismacolor spray to keep the wax bloom from coming. But for me, I don't. With Polychromos or Luminance, that's not an issue. I don't seal mine at all with anything unless I did a powder blender project. If I'm working powder blender on sanded paper, that needs to be sealed because you can kind of dust it off or smudge it. So that I just seal with the sealer that comes, the top coat or final fixative that comes from brush and pencil. But with regular colored pencils, I don't seal them with anything.
Yeah, I don't seal with regular pencils either, but I have been using pan pastels a lot now, like for backgrounds and stuff. So when I use pan pastels, I do seal it because I'm actually working with a fixative during the whole drawing. So I like to use it's actually right here, this Mikador matte workable fixative is my favorite to use while I'm working with pan pastels and colored pencils. And then in the end, I will also seal it off with a final fixative. And the only final fixative I have is by brush and pencil, so I just use that one anyways. But apart from that, if I'm just using colored pencils and not pan pastels, then I don't seal mine either.
Julian said that I should try pastel matte. Many artists love that paper. You're right. I should. I definitely should because I hear a lot about that. And Sheldene, do you use the Inktense Touch or pastel matte?
I use the Inktense Tex paper. So those of you in the US will get the Meton's Touch paper, and those in the Australia will get the Meton's Text paper. So the Text and the Touch are exactly the same. The only difference is that the Text is like 5 grams heavier. That's it. Otherwise, it's the same grit and everything. So you don't have to worry about like, oh no, I can only get the Touch but not the Text. And yes, I use that. I've used Pastel Matte once, and that was when I did the collaboration with Unmask Art, where he taught me how to do something using pastel sticks. We did clouds. So that was really fun, and I loved the way it felt with the pastels, but I don't know what the pastel matte feels like with colored pencils, so I do still have to do one like that. But I do love the Meton's Text sanded paper a lot, so I do use that one quite a lot.
Give me 1 second, guys. I am trying to adjust. I don't know. This didn't do it last night when I tested it. I don't know why it is showing the cursor in that. Now, it's every time I move the screen for where Sheldene is, it's affecting it on OBS. So give me 1 second to figure out what is going on there, because I got some complaints. I don't know. I think I can change it. It may make you freeze again because... Audio, output, image, window capture, show, there we go. Okay, that should fix the cursor, hopefully. Thank you guys for helping me and being patient with me as I set this up. It'll be so much easier next time we do this, because we should get all of this sorted out by then. But
usually the first one's always a good trial and error.
Yeah. But I think I fixed the cursor thing, and I apologize. I need the cursor because I have to keep scrolling to find questions, but it was showing on the screen where anyway, I think I fixed it. Sorry about that, Melody. Thanks for letting me know. I think I've got it fixed. Okay, Add for Fun wants to know which value of GMS paper is best for colored pencil. I have a 130 GMS and a 220. Also, can we use colored pencils over A4 paper? I know that's stupid. Why would that be stupid? I don't understand why that would be stupid. Actually, okay, I don't know what A4 size is, because in the US we don't use that.
That's all I know. So I get so confused with the US sizes.
So yeah, I just know inches.
Yeah.
So what is A4? Do you know what dimensions that would be?
I
can look it up. I'll find out really quick.
Yeah. But A4, I think it's like 8 by 11 or something like that inches, somewhere there. So like normal letter size that you put in the printer.
Okay, so yeah, about an 8 by, a little over 11. So for us, that would be an 8.5 by 11. So, yeah, there's no, that's a good, I think that's a really good size for colored pencil, actually.
I use that size the most as well.
Yeah, not too big, not too small. I think that's a pretty good one. For the weight of the paper, I don't even know what the GSM equivalents are. I know I try to go no lower than 90 pounds. I prefer 140 pounds. I'm not sure what that translates to.
I think it translates to between 200 and 300 GSM, which is what I like to use. So no lighter than 200 GSM, because then the paper just gets too thin, and no thicker than 300 GSM, because then the texture just gets too much.
Let's see. Add for Fun wants to know where are my hair curls? They're attached to my straightening iron that I didn't use for that today. I don't actually have curly hair at all. Mine's really straight. So, okay, good. Cursor is gone. So, yay. Akira said, I have the full set of Polychromos. Should I still try to blend in my adult coloring books and journal? That's up to you. They work fine for coloring books and journals, and coloring books too. I think if you practice layering with those, or blending, purple into yellow or orange and magenta, blending colors, coloring books you can learn from in shading things. You'll learn more by drawing on your own, but if you're having fun doing the coloring books, it's not like you're not learning anything from doing that. And I would say use whatever pencils you're comfortable with. If you can use less expensive pencils too, though, because you're not really worrying about light fast issues at that point. So like the Marco, is it the Renoir or the Refine? I always forget the one that's the more expensive one. Those I used in a coloring book, and I used the cheaper ones in the coloring book, but the more expensive ones actually perform really nice. But they're still way less expensive than Polychromos. So if you want something that you're not worrying about using a more expensive pencil, that's an option. But there's no reason you can't use your Polychromos.
Yep, use whatever you want. And also remember, it's about how it makes you feel. So if you just want to do it because you want to relax and things like that, then the type of pencil and stuff that it shouldn't even cross your mind. You should be like, I
Yeah.
just use whatever pencils I have, and I want to do this because I want to relax and I just want to enjoy myself. And then in those circumstances, you shouldn't be thinking about anything else other than grabbing a pencil and drawing, coloring in your coloring book, and just enjoying it while you can. Because not everybody gets those moments where we can just take time out and just do that without thinking too much about it. And I even have those days as well. It's like, I don't want to set up all my recording equipment and everything. I just want to draw and do, just quiet, go sit in another room. Even sometimes I feel like I need to get out of my studio, go sit in the living room and just sketch something or draw something, and I feel great for it. So sometimes it's just good to, take time out to just do it, to enjoy it and not think of all the technical things.
I found that when I went out on, what day did I do that? Thursday. I went to do, yeah, Thursday, for recording that Derwent, the outdoor one, and going and painting outdoors. That was what I felt like, because it was like, I'm not trying to make the most amazing artwork ever. I just want to have fun and relax, and it was so enjoyable. I had so much fun. Okay, so Jason Ray may have a good point. He thinks that the question about the A4 paper was actual printer paper. Actual printer paper? No. Go get
just the
art
size.
paper.
The
Yeah.
size.
The size of A4, yeah. But if it's the paper, actually using printer paper, then no. I'm not sure which you went with, but either way I'll answer just in case. No, don't use printer paper. I mean, when I was a kid and that was what was available to me, yes, I used that. But you're not going to learn that much. It's not going to build up. You can't really layer well. You can't do a lot on that. So use what you have, but seriously, go get at least a sketchbook. Something that's actual art paper. Okay.
You can try using printer paper and you'll see the difference. Printer paper is just way too smooth. You can't layer much. And if you're going to try and add a solvent, it's just going to warp the paper. So it's just not going to give you a good result.
And Max tried to help, but made it even more confusing for me. That an A4 is 21 by 29 centimeters. We don't use centimeters in the U.S. Inches. I only know inches. I feel so uneducated.
I don't know inches. Inches drives me crazy. I have to convert all the time.
I don't, how did we even why did we start using inches? Why did the U.S. not just go with what everybody else in the world uses and keep it simple?
I agree.
Because over here, none of us know, we don't really study. Most of us don't study. I have no idea. Centimeters, I always have to use a conversion app on my phone. Let's see. Rain said, have either of you used Stonehenge hot press for colored pencil, doing a fox on it? I'm going to have to title it The Undone Fox. The paper gets roughed up pretty quickly. I use this, I don't think the Stonehenge I use, I don't think is listed as hot press. I think it would be considered that, but I don't think it's labeled. It's just the Stonehenge that I've used. Do they? I'm going to go look this up really quick, actually, so I don't mess that up. Have you?
No, I haven't. I find that Stonehenge papers are not all that easy for me to get my hands on over here. So I just don't. I like the Fabriano Artistico papers are really easy, and the Arches watercolor papers are really easy to get here. So I tend to go more for them.
I'm going to look on Dick Blick really quick and see if it's something that I am not aware of. Because if it is...
The fox that I'm working on now, I use hot press paper as well. So it's the Fabriano Artistico 200 GSM hot press watercolor paper. And let me grab it quick and I can show you.
Let's see. We've got Stonehenge Aqua watercolor sheet. I didn't even know Stonehenge made watercolor paper. I may have to try that too. Drawing pads, craft, light, Stonehenge paper, Stonehenge spiral pads. I'm just going to look at the Stonehenge paper.
So this is, I don't know if you can see, the lighting is a bit like...
Oh, he looks so good.
Yeah, so that's on the hot press watercolor paper. And this one's just with pencils. So I haven't used any pastels or anything. We just use, I think I only used my Polychromos pencil, my Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. And the only white pencil that I used was the Prismacolor white pencil, just for the extra highlights, like on the ears and stuff. And on the face. So that's the only wax-based pencil I use, but I found that I could get the soft look fine just by using the Polychromos pencils. So yeah, a hot press paper is definitely my favorite. The cold press paper seems to have way too much texture, so you're going to layer forever. So if you can use the hot press instead of the cold press, I would suggest that you do.
As far as Stonehenge goes, I'm not seeing the paper that I use isn't listing it on Dick Blick's website, or I may just be overlooking it, which is possible. But I'm not seeing anything where it's listed as being hot press or cold press. I mean, it's definitely not cold press, but I don't see it listed as that. So if you've got one that's listing it as being hot press, there's a possibility that we're not using the same thing. If you're using the one that I am, I really do like it for colored pencil. Any of the hot press papers that I've used, I've been pretty fond of. So just because it's smoother. The arches I've not tried yet with colored pencil, but I'm definitely going to, because I really did like it for my water-soluble graphite, but I don't know with the Stonehenge one. I didn't know they had watercolor paper, though, so I will be buying some of that, too. Let's see. Maria asked what kind of art that you create.
That I create? Mm-hmm. Well, mainly because I teach, I usually just do art that's easily available to everybody else. So it's more about teaching the technique than about the artwork itself. So, like, for example, this fox is from a photo from Pixabay. And I haven't changed it up or anything. It's just straight from the photo from Pixabay. So a lot of my stuff is just from royalty-free photos, just to teach you guys technique more than anything. The only one that I did different the other day was a fantasy art piece. I'll show you.
Is anyone else jealous of the curtain that Sheldene is using behind her? I love that curtain.
So this one, I might have to take it out of here. So that was a nice change out of, it's a bit hard to see. This is so tricky. But yeah, so this was a nice fun one to do as a change. So I just used a program called Clip Studio to edit a whole bunch of references and stuff, and just to help me with balancing the colors and all those sorts of things. But usually it's just, yeah, elements of different royalty-free photos, making up certain pictures just for the sake of teaching it. So like I said, I don't really sell my art. I'm not interested in selling. I'm only really interested in teaching the technique. So to me, it's not so much about what I'm producing. It's just about being able to teach the technique that I'm trying to bring across. So yeah, it's pretty boring, actually.
I don't think so. I love your work so much. Valerie said that on Legion's website, you can buy 8x10 sample packs of paper. I may need to do that and test out a bunch of different ones. Or just contact them and see if they'll send me some because of the videos.
I hear about these amazing deals that you guys have in the US all the time, and I'm like, damn it. Because the shipping is what always gets me. Is like, yeah, I can get it, but then if they ship it here, it's like half the time the shipping costs more than me actually buying it. So it's not worth it.
I shipped a painting. It was a 16 by 20 inch painting to Australia. The shipping for, if I kept it on the stretcher bars, was going to cost like $500, $600. Insane. The painting wasn't worth that much. It was like a $200 painting. It was, we ended up having to take it off the stretcher bars and send it rolled in a tube, and that was much cheaper. But the shipping, oh my gosh, is so crazy.
Kills me. It kills me. That's why when I'm doing giveaways, I use Super Chat so that can help me with the shipping, and that makes a big difference. Have you ever used Super Chat?
You know, I never did, and I just enabled it a couple of days ago, but I don't know, do I need to enable that on individual videos too? I have to play with that.
No, you should. I'll test it now. I'll Super Chat you $1. Let's check it out.
I don't know how, like, I enabled it on the channel as a whole just the other day because I normally don't pay attention.
Yeah, no, if you have it enabled, it's enabled. So whenever you do a live stream, it's, there we go, Ryan sent. So I just sent you a Super Chat of $2. It should come up soon. But yeah, it's really handy. So I usually do that with my live streams and my giveaways just so they can help me with postage, because most of the time the people that win my giveaways are in the US. And, oh no, I need to set up my Super Chat. Oh no, I can't do it now.
We'll have to play with that later.
I need to put my card details in there, and I haven't yet. So, but yeah. So your Super Chat is enabled. Anyone can use it. And it does help. It definitely helps for postage, because I do pan pastel giveaways every month, and they're quite heavy. So it costs me between $50 and $80 postage just for a giveaway. So I'm like, and then if I do 3 or 4 giveaways, it's like, it costs me a fortune. So the Super Chat is, I sort of utilize it then, and then say, look, you know, if you guys can super chat a minimum of $1, it's going to help me towards postage, and then I'm happy to do the giveaways.
Oh, Valerie,
So,
thank you.
yeah,
Valerie
no,
just tested
Val
the super chat. Oh, you're my first ever super chat. Thanks, Valerie. So not only are you
Thanks,
helping me
Val.
with moderating, you're giving me dollars.
Yeah, no, Valerie's
You may
been
be the
really
most
silly.
awesome
She does
person.
that to me as well. So we need to get onto Val's live stream so that we can super chat her back.
Yes, yes, we do. I need to look up when they are. I saw one when she was working on, was it, I don't know, I've seen a couple of hers. It may have been the manatee that I got so excited about. Okay.
Those are always when I'm sleeping. That's the problem. It's like I wake up and I'm like, oh, Val's not a live stream. I missed it.
Let's see. We've got Curtis Brown wants to know if I've used UArt paper. I have the UArt 500, the sanded paper. Yeah, UArt 500. Yes, I'm thinking like I get all the names start getting confused in my head and jumbled up, and I start, you know, like Faber-Castell Prismacolor. Yeah, that's not right. So yeah, the UArt 500 I liked with the powder blender for blending colored pencil.
I am loving the UArt 400. I've used the UArt 400 paper.
Did you use it with powder blender?
No, actually, I just used a brush, and it's like I didn't even need the powder blender.
Yeah,
it was the weirdest thing. I did it with the so I'm doing the Color Pencil Magazine challenge. So every month I do their challenge just as a demo. I don't enter mine or anything, but I just demonstrate the challenge for that month. So this month they've got the little chicks.
Aww.
So that's on the UArt 400 paper that I'm doing that one now. So I'm still busy with that one, but the paper is really nice. And I have the powder blender right here with the intent of using it, but I didn't need to. I just used I didn't use a brush. I used the Pan Pastel soft applicator sponges. So, and I just blended that without the powder blender, and it was just as good. So I guess if you're using, I don't know.
I'd like to see you try both and see. I haven't tried too much without, so I'm not sure how. I know that it can be blended without on that paper, but I need to test that.
All that green there, the soft blend of those green pencils, was done without the powder blender. It was just the sponge.
What surprised me about working on sanded paper when I started with powder blender, when she suggested I use, that was really what worked best with it. I was like, I don't like toothy paper. I don't want to work with something that has a ton of teeth. Like, no, I'm not going to like it. But you can get so much detail on it. I was really surprised at how I thought you wouldn't be able to, and you really can.
And the pigment is really bright. It's almost like you don't need the solvent to help you bring the color intensity out with the sanded paper. It's weird. Well, I find that with the Canson and Meton's text paper or touch paper. So with them, it's like I don't need the solvent to bring the intensity of color out. On watercolor paper, I like to use the solvent just because it makes the color look 3 times brighter than what it does without it.
Yeah.
So with the sanded paper, I almost feel like you don't even need to do that. But again, those things are things that you have to experiment with. You'll only figure it out once you try.
Yeah, I mean, you'll look at 20 different artists and you're going to find 20 different ways to get basically the same end result, but we'll all go about it different ways. And you just have to figure out, try things from different artists, the way that they do it, and then figure out, like, pull pieces from this artist and pieces from this artist, and then kind of form your own way of working. So we've got a question from Caution Artist at Play. Said, I remember you mentioning that you like single sheets of Stonehenge better than Stonehenge that comes in the pad. What makes the single sheet better? I've only tried the pads. The pads are too much of a vellum finish. They're too smooth. So you can't get the pigment, the color pigmentation. Like the pencils just don't hit it or collect as much, like not as much pigment goes on there as it does with the single sheets. Now, some artists prefer the ones in the pad. They prefer it to be super smooth. So it really depends, kind of like we were just saying, it just depends on what you prefer. But I do not like the ones in the pad. Now, I like the one in the pad for graphite. So even though I bought it, it's not a waste because I'll use it for that. But I'm not really picky about graphite. I'll use just about any paper for graphite, but as long as it's smooth. But for a colored pencil, it's kind of like working on the Strathmore Bristol Vellum, where it's so smooth that it's really hard to get good color pigmentation because there's not enough tooth for the pencil to grab onto. So that is why, or my opinion on the difference. Jillian said, let's see. Whoops. I think I missed the first part of her question. Noe's mom said, where are you getting the hot press in the US? I can't find it anywhere, and it seems to be sold out online. I get all of my paper from either Jerry's Artorama or dickblick.com. Max said, is asking both of us, if you had to choose, what will be your favorite piece made with colored pencil? Oh, that's a hard one. I really, really like the flamingo that I did that's in water because I took the reference photo, and for some reason, like, I don't know, when you use your own reference photo, it makes it that much more, like, I feel more attached to the piece because it was mine from beginning to end, like the whole process. So that's definitely one of my favorites. But if I looked through my gallery, I would probably come up with 20 different answers.
I have one favorite that's been my favorite for a while, and it's the biggest one I've ever done in colored pencils. And I called it a father's pride. So it's of a lion and a cub, and it's got like this weird green background, but I don't have a quick print to show you guys. But if you guys check out my website, on my homepage, actually, you can sort of see it behind me. I have a photo of my head next to the lion's head, and the lion's head is bigger than mine. So that was the biggest drawing I've ever done, and I'll never, ever, ever draw something that big again in my life.
I thought
it took so long.
It's a damaged one that got returned to me, but there's the postcard of the flamingo. Actually, that does not look good on the color or the lighting here, but that's the one of mine that was one of my favorites, I think. Oh my God, a bunch of postcards sitting in front of me that got returned. Oh, I liked these guys. The hummingbirds I really liked too, but if you're on Patreon, make sure that your address is correct if you're on the $9 pledge for me, because it costs a lot of money every time they get sent back to me, and I have to resend them and find out where the address is supposed to be. So make sure that your addresses, just go under settings. Like when you go to Patreon, go up at the upper right-hand corner, there's like a little circle thing where you can click on. Go to your profile or your setting profile. Just double check that your addresses are in there and that they're correct. So, yeah, was it last year at this time? I think it was last year. They had a problem where when new people signed up, for some reason, it kept defaulting everybody to Alabama as their state. So I'm doing the stamps and doing the postcards, and after me and my friend were sitting there stamping a bunch of them, and we're like, why are all these going to Alabama? And then noticed that the zip code didn't match. But for some reason, Patreon was defaulting everybody, all the new signups for that month had been defaulted. Gosh. So double check yours, because I still have to check the Alabama thing. For all this time, I have to go through and find any Alabamas and double check the zip codes. There's only a few left that I still have to change, but yeah, double check your addresses. Make sure those are always correct, because I've got a stack of postcards here that got returned to me that gets really expensive. And if you ever, if you don't get them, I'll resend them. But please make sure that it's accurate, because especially international is $1.20 or I think $1.15 each for me to ship. Yeah, it costs
me if I ship from. I'm lucky because Maureen, my moderator, actually does my postcards for me from the US, because most of my subscribers are from the US. So it cost me $3 a postcard if I send it from here. So it's cheaper for me to just get Maureen to send it for me, because it cost me a stupid amount of money just for one postcard. Costing $3 is just insane. It's and I haven't put my prices up or anything in Patreon. So it's been the same price since the beginning, and I don't want to change the price just because of the postcard. So I sort of, at least I'm lucky. I'm so lucky I have Maureen, because that helps me out so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ashray, I love how your name looks. I have no idea how to pronounce it, so please forgive me. I'm sorry. It looks like it's pretty, I bet. But they said, I am a beginner. I am improving, but friends are put off when I tell them the time it took me on a drawing. I am very slow compared to other artists when arting. Should I just stop? No, you should not stop. How fast or slow you are is no indication of how good you are. It has nothing to do with how skilled you are, how talented you are. And if it's something that you enjoy, you should never, ever quit something, like, unless it's drugs, then you should quit the drugs. But I mean, when it's art, or let's say you like training dogs, whatever it is that you like doing, playing an instrument, it doesn't even matter. Let's say you're terrible at it. Do you enjoy it? Then don't stop for any reason. Like, don't ever let somebody else dictate whether or not you should stop something like that. And again, no matter how slow you are, it doesn't mean it has nothing to do with how skilled you are.
Yep, it doesn't. And colored pencil, if you're gonna get involved with colored pencils, usually, it takes a lot of time, and you'll know from the beginning when you start colored pencil if it's the kind of thing for you or not. Because I find that I am in such a relaxed state when I draw that the hours mean nothing to me. It goes so quick, and I just really enjoy the progress over time. Some people don't have that. They prefer to find something that's a lot quicker. So you'll find a lot of artists that try colored pencils, but then they decide to switch to painting or something like that. So they find a medium that can be a lot faster than colored pencils. And also it depends on what you're drawing. So if you are aiming to do something realistic, I don't think it matters what medium you use. If you're aiming for a realistic result, it's going to be time consuming. If you're not worried about the realistic result and you like a more abstract sort of feel in your style, then the time shouldn't even be a factor in what you're doing, as long as you enjoy using the medium and you use it. And also, that's why I've been doing the live streams a lot as well, is to show people what time really goes into it. It's not something that happens quickly. People get the false assumption that art is quick just because you put up a couple of time-lapse videos, every month or week. They think, oh, well, they did so many in 1 month, it must be quick, but it's not. It is a time-consuming medium to use.
Yeah, and no matter, I mean, I know people who will paint with painting and they'll with acrylics or whatever, and they'll be really slow at that. Again, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Okay, if you're slow with acrylics, it's hard to blend. It kind of matters there, just a little. Switch to oil paint in that case. But no, I mean, do what you enjoy. Definitely don't give that up. Rain said that Legion just came out not too long ago with the aqua watercolor paper. I got free samples, but didn't try it with the watercolor pencils first. It's a red cover watercolor block. I will be getting that for sure. I need to get that, and I want to get some more of the hot press. I really liked the Arches watercolor block that I got. I just got the little long, because it's expensive when you get it in the block, because you're getting 20 sheets. Per sheet, it's not that expensive, but because you're getting 20, it's like, it gets expensive with the big sheet or big blocks. But I am definitely going to be doing that. Oh, let's just scroll too far. Okay. Clarice asked if I use or I guess this could go for both of us, use a fixative over graphite. What brand? I have one by Krylon I've been using, but I bought a new one, and I don't remember the brand. It's behind me somewhere, that I'm going to try because it's a higher quality, or it's supposed to be better. The Krylon has worked fine. It didn't yellow. I've not had any problems with that. But yeah, I do like to put a fixative over my graphite to help keep it from smudging too much. And the nice thing is some of those will add a bit more of a matte finish to it, so you don't have the glossy hot spots that you might get with the graphite itself.
Yeah, I haven't done graphite in such a long time. I think I did in the November challenge when I was doing a drawing a day. I did a graphite one because I got the new Lumograph pencils by Stettler, and they were really good. But I don't know if I sprayed it with anything.
I don't usually spray them until I sell them. Like before I sell them, I'll spray them to make sure they don't smudge in the way.
Yeah, right. But graphite, I don't do too many in graphite, so I don't know. And again, I don't sell them. So to me, it doesn't matter. I'm not fussed about the packaging and stuff like that. But for those that do sell them, then that would be something that'd be important to you. So you'd want to have a look.
I was selling before I was teaching, so that's always been a concern for me. Oh, thank you, Crystal. Actually, my birthday was yesterday. But close enough. I'm going for my birthday dinner tomorrow night. So I'm going to count it all birthday weekend.
I set it a whole day before. Because I'm 15 hours ahead of you. So I get a notification from Facebook saying, oh, it's your birthday today. And I said, happy birthday, but it was a day before for you.
I haven't, you know what? I have not I need to go through and thank everyone on all the Facebook birthday wishes. I was so busy working yesterday that I just didn't get a chance to look through. So I'm a jerk, but I need to. Tomorrow is my day to
say it yesterday. But yeah, how do you remember birthdays anyways? I'm sorry, but to anybody who has a go at me for not remembering their birthday, I don't remember any. I get phone calls from my mom saying, do you know what today is? And then I'm like, Monday?
I forgot. I felt
and then she's like, no.
I felt so
Yeah.
guilty a few years ago. I was playing with my band and we were getting ready for this really big show, and that whole week was nothing but just focusing on the show. I have never forgotten my mom's birthday before. I get a call the next day from my dad going, "Did you forget something?" And I'm looking around because I was in the car with one of my bandmates on the way to the venue. I mean, it was just like, it was just nonstop for like that whole week. And I was like, I'm looking around going, crap, did I forget? What did I forget? Why would my dad know I forgot something? I might guess it hurt my mom's feelings really bad because I've never forgotten before. Like, I just was so off in my own little world. I still, to this day, like, they're never going to let me forget that. And that was probably, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow. I'm so lucky my mom knows me so well because I don't pay attention to what the specific date is. So I'm like, yeah, today's Monday or Tuesday, not today is what is
Yeah.
today? The 15th of April, you know? So it's like, it's easy for me to miss, but I'm lucky my mom knows me so well. And yeah, I think the last three she's called me on her birthday, and she does it to me every year, and she laughs hysterically every time I go nuts about forgetting about it.
Dave Randolph, oh, this is a good question. How do you deal with self-doubt and tough times as a full-time artist, and how do you manage your time if you're on a deadline? Sometimes if you're on a deadline, I just give up sleep or other things that I might want to do where it's just I'll overwork myself, and I do have a tendency to do that where I just work. I mean, yesterday was my birthday and I just worked all day long. So that's just, my husband had to work anyway, so I wasn't really giving up anything exciting. But that's what I do. I mean, I could have gone out with friends last night, but I didn't because I had to get work done. So you're going to sacrifice some things. That's just the nature of it. And anytime you're working for yourself, no matter what type of work you're doing, you are going to sacrifice some things that you want to do in order to meet those goals, to meet those deadlines. So I think that that's a big deal. Having the deadline for me works out okay as long as I've got a schedule. I try to, and I have been bad with it ever since all the health stuff I ran into last year. I have not gotten back onto a normal schedule, which is terrible on me. I need to do that again. But when I kept with a schedule, that made a big difference. I mean, I had my day timed down. At this hour I do this hour I do that. And I hate schedules like a lot, but it was the only way that I could get that much work done. As far as self-doubt, know that it will pass. Like, that's for me kind of the thing, and I think it's something that we all feel. One of the things that I think is also helpful is know that every single artist that you like, every single one of them out there deals with self-doubt. There is not a single artist who thinks that they're as amazing as you might think that they are. Like, every single person. And it always, I don't know why that shouldn't help. That sounds kind of sad. Like, oh, they doubt themselves too. That makes me feel better. But realistically, just knowing that it's something that everybody goes through. I just pulled my headphone out. That just really, that alone helps me to know that it's normal and to know that it is going to get better. It is going to pass and it's kind of like just go to the easel and get more artwork done and stop worrying about things to try to, for me, I have to play mind games with myself where it's just, you tell yourself it's good. I mean, you convince yourself that it's good. It's good for you. Compare it to what I've done before. I love how this one came out, and I don't know. I guess those mind games I play with myself they work though, but just, yeah, get to the easel and paint more and not, I think if you spend too much time, and like if you've got too much time on your hand, the self-doubt's going to get worse. If you spend too much time not working, too much time away from the easel, that's going to build up even more. Just get to the easel and go get work done, and you're going to improve anyway, which is going to help with the self-doubt.
Yeah. And something that I do as well, and I think it's general in life as well, like with art or even with food. Like I'm a raw vegan mostly, so food's like a big thing for me. And sometimes I so bad with food, and then I just feel so awful. And then I'm like, how do I get myself back on track? I used to be so good with that. And then I just go and look at, like, because I'm one of those crazy people that like to post pictures of food because it inspires me. So I go back and I look at all the pictures that I posted of the healthy food that I made, and I felt so good about it. And, you know, the process of making it and knowing that you're putting something so good in your body is what sort of motivates me. And then you get out of that swing. The same thing with art. Sometimes I go back and I look at where I started off at and where I got to now, and then I feel inspired again. Sometimes you need to remind yourself, because you do all your art and then it's there, but you never look at it again. You're like, oh yeah, it's there, but sometimes you actually need to have a look back at what you managed to achieve over time, and look at it from the very beginning. And then I think you start getting that inspiration back, and then you're like, okay, yes, I do really want to do this. And that self-doubt will automatically start disappearing, because you know that you were at a point where you wanted to be, maybe even as a week ago. How'd you get back there? So then you know that you were at that point, you can get back there, and you just sort of look back at what you've achieved, and it makes it a little bit easier for you to get back up there. And also sometimes you do have to just sit with that self-doubt, like Lisa said, and just persevere and get it done, because the minute you get it done, you're going to feel that rush of relief and be like, oh, thank goodness it's done now, I don't have to worry about it anymore. So sometimes you just have to force yourself and just get on with it.
You know what? I was showing my friend, we were looking, or I was looking up old paintings on my website, and some of them from 1999, 1998, they were hilariously bad. But what I'm going to do is take some of those old ones and then repaint them to the today, now. So you can see, I'm going to use the same concept, because some of them are surreal. Well, they're all semi-surreal, but I want to do the same thing with what I've learned. And just so you guys can see too, the difference, you will improve. Like if you would have told me back then that my skill level would be where it is now, or where it might be in the future, I wouldn't have believed it. Now I can believe it, because I've seen what's happened over the last 20 years. Now I'm excited to see what it's going to be 20 years from now. Back then, I had this attitude of, this is my style, the typical excuse that young artists do. Well, this is just my style. This is as good as I'm going to get. I didn't know I could do better. I didn't know I can improve. It was just, I'd accepted, this is my lot. This is my born gift, what I was born with. And that's as good as it's going to get. And I met an artist who basically taught me that was bull, and work harder, do more. And it made such a difference to realize, like, when you get out of that mindset of, well, this is just as good as it's going to get, that I think leads to a lot of self-doubt too, because you get to a point where you're looking at yours and you're like, well, obviously I'm not as good as that artist, and I'm never going to be that good, so why don't I just give up? You have to get over that. You will, you can. There's no, if somebody else can do it, there's no reason you can't. But it takes time. It's not overnight. I don't know. It always kind of cracks me up, because, like, if somebody wants to be a doctor, they go to school for 8 years and then more if they're going to specialize in a certain field, if they go into these different STEM fields. The amount of schooling, the amount of training, they work all day, every day. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to work here and there for an hour today to try to learn how to be a doctor. But when it comes to art, you hit, 18, 19 years old, you're out of school, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be an artist. And you expect to right now be pro level. No other field does that. But for some reason, artists think that that's how it's going to work, that we can do. It doesn't. It's not going to work that way. It's going to take time. I mean, God, I don't even know how many hours it takes of study and schooling for a doctor to get to the point where they're, able to go treat people, to treat patients. We, as artists, think we can spend a half an hour a day drawing and that's enough, and it's not. Take it more seriously and spend more time to improve yourself. But art just is always kind of a funny thing, because it's that one career path that people think that they can just do instantly, and you still have to study, you still have to learn, you still have to put the work in like anything else.
Mm. And also, I think sort of like on an opposite note to that as well, sometimes you get to a point where you reach a level where you're very happy with the level that you've reached, and you feel like you can't get any better than that. That's when you start becoming really content with what you're doing. And then sometimes it's not good to stay in that content space for too long, because that's when you start getting bored of it. And I actually started feeling that recently, where I feel like I really know how to use my pencils. And so like my main one with the fox is that, that's what I've been doing for so long. I feel like I need a shift, I need a change. And so I started experimenting with the acrylic paws, and they are so much fun. Now, I don't teach them or anything, but I do that separately so that I can explore a couple of other things and shift out of that headspace of being too content with one particular style, or one particular method. So sometimes you have to shift out of that, and you'll find that sometimes you'll grow even further than that. So try not to become too content with what you do, because you will get to a phase where you get a bit bored, and you don't want to get to that bored phase where you quit. You pretty much stop it.
Heather said, thanks us for doing this, and said it's the best live video she's seen on YouTube yet, or like art video. Thank you.
Thank you.
These are fun. I love it's more fun having you here to talk with me too. So you can answer questions while I read for look for more. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm letting you read the questions because I have no idea where we are at in the chat with the questions. So
Rain said, I have a problem with pastels. I can't stand the feel of them, nor do I like the mess. I am right there with you. They are not a medium for me.
I am not too keen on pastels either, but I am in love with pan pastels. I am obsessed with pan pastels. So that's one thing I really, really, really love. I did a portrait the other day of pan pastels, and I cannot get this right with portraits in colored pencils. I'll show you. I have to get under my table for this. But like the skin tones that you get with pan pastels compared to pencils is something that I really like. And the fact that you can use the pencils with the pan pastels. So, that one.
How did you do the stenciling on the edges? That looks gorgeous.
That was with stencils, yeah, and pan pastels as well.
I like that with the bird in there. That is beautiful.
Yeah, but those smooth skin tones, I really struggle to get them with colored pencils. And with the pastels as well, it's so quick. Like this entire thing, and it's huge, it only took me 9 hours to do. If I did this whole thing in colored pencils, it would have taken me 3 times that amount of time. So, yeah, so when it comes to pastels, I love pan pastels, but I'm not fond of pastel sticks or pastel pencils at all. I still love my colored pencils. So all the detailing there with the eyes and just any details were done with pencils, but the bulk of it was done with pan pastels to get good coverage on large areas quickly. So there is a quick way to do it. If you're using colored pencils and pan pastels, you can get a much larger piece done in a shorter amount of time.
Let's see, Bethany asked if I've used the Arches watercolor hot press blocks or pads, and if so, which is better. I have the blocks so far. I also bought some individual sheets that I've not tested, so that video will be in the future. I definitely want to test those because I'm having to look for alternatives to the Fabriano Artistico because, oh, thanks, Samson, for the super chat. But for the, that's weird to me to see because I've never had it, I've never used it before. But where was I on that? Yeah, I need to test those out because the Fabriano Artistico isn't handling water well, and I needed to find an alternative for the watercolor pencils and for the Inktense. I'm just not happy with how it's working now since they changed stuff.
Really?
So
that paper's not working well with the watercolors.
No, a few years ago they changed something in the way that they're like they started, I think it was money they started making on their paper presses, and so a lot of watercolor artists started having tons of problems with it where the water, it was just, and they showed video of what it was doing differently with the new one because Faber-Castell's, or not Faber-Castell, Fabriano was like, it should be the same, but it wasn't. It was clearly not the same. And I've got some of the new batch now. I used it for colored pencil, and there were things I liked better about it and things that I have to adjust my technique because it was blending things out that normally would have stayed put. So it's definitely different, but for a colored pencil, I think I'll still like it. But for water, anything where I'm using a lot of water, I don't think it's a real suitable paper at this point. So let's see. Add for fun.
I think we got about another 10 minutes to go, guys.
Okay, let's see. Add for fun said, which piece are you working on? I can't believe you suffer from fibromyalgia considering how active you are. I'm not that active. I nap a lot. How are your joint pains doing? I don't have joint pains as long as I keep sugar and carbs out of my diet. Those will make the fibromyalgia, or any fake sugars. Like I can't even do stevia. Those just make me super nauseated. But
how do you survive this world?
I know. So if I can avoid those, I don't really have too bad with the joint pain. I've also got the ankylosing spondylitis, so it's with the type of arthritis that makes your joint, like your spine, your joints want to fuse together, and so that causes some discomfort. That's ideal with more now than the fibromyalgia joint pains. It's only my arthritis spots that I really do. But again, as long as I have to control my diet completely, I don't take any medication. I'll take ibuprofen at most, but that's just for the arthritis when that flare-up's too bad. So yeah, since I changed my diet, because I used to love chips and just baked potatoes. I love high carb things, breads, anything high carb and sugary. I loved, and that would just kill the fibromyalgia. So yeah, diet worked really well for me. Heather wants to know how I came up with my logo or business name. For me, Lachri is a combination of my name, Lisa, and my sister's name, Christy, and then fine art. Obvious there. For the logo, that was an accident for me. I have a painting. No, you guys can't see it. It's kind of back there somewhere. But I painted these two little goldfish on it, and I started using those goldfish on some of my artwork for like a stamp and different things when I would sign my name. And people assumed it was a logo. It was never intended as a logo. But at that point, so many people started recognizing it because I would use just that as like an icon for like my avatar or different things like that, that I just went ahead and made the logo. This one's, I redesigned the goldfish so it's more simple, but that's where that came from. It was kind of random and not intentional.
That's so cool. Accidental logo.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, goldfish. I was so into marine life. A goldfish wouldn't necessarily have made sense, but that's what I go with now. And I like the little buggy-eyed goldfish, so.
I tried designing a logo for myself to such an extent where I gave up and I bought mine. So mine's nothing fancy or anything like that. I bought my logo and just bought the rights to the logo, and that was the lazy.
Where did you buy it from?
I actually don't remember. I will find out and I'll put it in the comments below.
Cool.
But there's quite a few amazing designs on there, and it's not expensive. But you just have to make sure when you buy the rights to the logo, you also need to register the color of the logo, because it's weird, because people can, if they adjust the color of the logo in Australia apparently, so that's what our accountant told us, that you have to register it with the color, because apparently people can use a similar design that you have with a different color and they'll get away with it. So you sort of have to register the color as well.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's weird. But Valerie, you'd hope that people would want a different logo anyway, so they're not going to use the same one.
Valerie said, after 12 years of burning, she does wood burning, if you guys don't know what she's talking about there. I still have anxiety when I go to start. A few deep breaths and just do it. About 15 minutes in, I start to have self-doubts and I have to relax. Then it's all good. I do that too. Do you do that? Every time I go to start a piece, you instantly have this like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to draw. I don't know how to use colored pen. Where do I start? I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, the weirdest panic thing happens to me at the start of every single time, where it's just like, why am I doing this? I don't know what I'm doing, which is ridiculous. I do know what I'm doing, but I know what you're talking about, because I do that at the beginning every time.
Wow. I don't have that anymore.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it doesn't.
I talk so much before I even get started that I guess the nerves just dissipate.
Let's see. Rhonda wants to know, how do you feel about fixing really badly painted eyes on a painting somebody else painted? I wouldn't do it. I won't fix somebody else's painting.
No, don't fix someone else's painting.
No, they can hire me to start over and make my own. But here's the thing. If the eyes are off, so's the rest of the face. There's no way that the rest of the face was perfect and the eyes were the only problem. There's no way. Their proportions, everything. Once you change the eyes, now the cheeks look too wide, too narrow. I mean, everything affects everything else. No, I wouldn't touch somebody else's art anyway. But in that case, let's say you have no problems with that. You're going to change the eyes and it's still not going to look like the person. It's still not going to be right. So heck no.
And also, when you're thinking about things like that, try and shift it as if someone's going to do that to you, and think about how it would make you feel. Imagine you had a painting and someone was like, I don't like something in your painting. I think I want to change it. Then you're going to be like, what? It wouldn't be really great. So try and shift that perspective as well. When it comes to artworks. And if you don't like something, don't look at it anymore.
Let's see. We have a question from Esme said, maybe we can tempt Lisa into using pastels if Sheldene shows her stencils. No, I'm not
The
using
pan
pastels. No.
Pan pastels.
I've used them. They're still too messy for my taste. And if I touch the paper
Really?
and then it's on my thumb and then, no, I hate the feel.
Okay.
Like, I
guess
used to
it
use
is a little
charcoal all the
messy.
time. Yeah, I used to use charcoal all the time too. And I really liked the look. I've gotten too neurotic. The older I've gotten, the worse my neuroticism has gotten here. Crystal would have said my coffee cup is bigger than my face. Is my face tiny or my cup big? My cup's big. It holds, there's like, to here is 20 ounces of coffee. So that kind of gives you an idea. It's a large cup. I do half decaf and half normal. So it's like watered down. So, because I can't do caffeine or too strong of caffeine.
So
Yeah, I think that's
two more
it.
questions. Is that right?
Okay.
Oh, is that it?
Let me see if there were any more towards the bottom. No, I think that we're caught up.
Wow.
Esme's
I
laughing
think
at my
right
forever
in the
hating
beginning-
pastels. Huh?
Right in the beginning, there was a question. I think someone asked me if I do workshops in Sydney. And no, I don't. I only do workshops in town. I don't travel too far to do my workshops because I provide all the supplies. And Sydney is like 5.5 hour drive from where I am. So I am not going to drive that far for a workshop. And I'm not going to fly with all my supplies either. So unfortunately, no, the workshops I do are close by. And I'll travel maybe to Wagga. Wagga Wagga. They've got all these weird names in Australia, but I might travel there, which is about 1.5 hours away, which is the longest I'll travel for a workshop. But unfortunately, no, they are close by. But something that I'm doing, so my next workshop that I'm doing is a pan pastel one, actually, and it's of this giant owl. So I did this owl in pan pastels in 3 hours. So this only took 3 hours to do just with pan pastels and a little bit of pencils. So the workshop's going to be, and it's a beginner's workshop, and that I recorded this whole thing. So as soon as I finish the workshop in town, I'm actually Pan Pastel's YouTube channel will have this video, this workshop, recorded workshop for you guys to use. So that's the best way for me to give, everybody a clear view of what I do in a workshop. If you guys aren't in the same country or if you can't attend my actual workshops. So I always try and provide both. So I do the workshop and I also try and create a tutorial for you guys to see online as well.
Well, you can also, too, if you set it up for a workshop far enough in advance, people can come from all over the country. I did one with Wendy Lane, not last year, the year before, and we had people from all over the country. We actually had one person come from the UK, flew in for our workshop. So you can, if you set up ahead of time, maybe people, if you've got like nice hotels and stuff in the area that people can take a vacation. And it was a 4-day workshop. So they came, it wasn't like a 1-day thing, but it was a longer one. And that was a lot of fun.
I think we have like one motel in this town.
Oh.
I live in a tiny town. There's only the population here, I think, is like 12,000. It's a really small town, small country town. So there's not.
I'm
there's
so
not
jealous.
a lot here.
I love
it here. I love it here. But
everywhere we live
here.
Yeah, everywhere I've ever lived was, Southern California, so everything's really packed. And then where I'm at now is large too. One of my dreams is to live in a small town, so I'm actually pretty jealous of you right now. Although you're in Australia, you have really big bugs, so I'm less jealous about those. No?
People obsess about the bugs, but yeah. Okay, they're there. But they're not gonna be a bother. And like, I like the spiders because they deal with the mosquitoes. So I don't mind the spiders too much. As long as they're not in the house, I don't mind them. And as long as the dogs can't get to them, then I don't mind either. I just leave them be. But you don't see that many of them. Maybe if you're in a farm, you will, but not so much in town. Then they're not that big a deal. But then again, I don't mind bugs. So the difference is
there you go.
There's people that really don't like bugs, and I'm not fussed about them at all. So that's the difference, I guess. I don't mind spiders. I would have a pet spider if I could, but
you can hear people have there are a lot of different spiders people keep, like tarantulas and the big fluffy ones that people keep as pets here.
Yeah. I would, but they smell like any reptiles or spider. They're just very smelly, so it's not something I'd really have as a pet.
I used to have tree frogs. It was an Australian's tree. He was from your area, well, somewhere over there. But he was an Australian White's tree frog. He was really cute. His name was Rib. His last name was Bit. Yeah. He lived for like 12 years. He was a cool frog, but he didn't really smell.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah, he lived a long time. But Okay, so we will go ahead and wrap this up. If you want to check out our moderators, their links are in the video description. All of Sheldene's links where you can find her are in the video description. Make sure to head over and subscribe to her channel too. And we will definitely, we've got some plans for some live streams coming up that I'm actually really excited about. So thank you so much for joining us. And I don't even have the place to shut this down. There we go. I will see you guys on Wednesday. I don't know what I'm working in yet. Maybe a smart art box again, because that was actually fun last week. I have no idea what boxes I have available right now. I've got a bunch of them behind me, so it'll be something new and fun. But that's it.
And my next one will also, mine will be your Monday, my Tuesday, which will also be the newest smart art box.
So do you know what's in yours yet? I haven't opened any of my newer ones.
Yes, I do, and it's really nice. I think you'll like it.
Yay. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.